Arcane, written by Neospector. Chapter 14. Issue resolved. Liuva was thinking about how many weird vehicles there were in Maple World. Like, why does the airship in Edelstein have a giant wind-up key in it? And why do the Cygnus Knight airships have oars if they fly through the air? And where did all those subways go underneath Kerning City? These were the kind of questions the blaster was considering when she found herself face to face with the boatkeeper Kima, who was standing in front of an, of all things, origami paper boat that was gently bobbing on the lake. The Urda himself gave off a stoic vibe. Being completely honest, the other villagers had freaked Liuva out quite a bit, but speaking with Kima felt more awkward than anything else. On the other side of the girl was Kao. Liuva had bets on who Kao was. The entire alliance did. What else was there to do when one of the leading members reports back that one of the priests in the temple looks exactly like him? The leading theories were either time travel or Kao being from Earth. Hawkeye stuck adamantly with the long-lost twin theory, claiming it would be the perfect twist. Liuva had decided to take the hardest bet, that it was all a giant coincidence, like in The Prince and the Pauper. That theory had the worst odds because weird things in Maplestory rarely ever turned out to be coincidence. Yuuki had, mercilessly, abandoned the girl on the lakeside to complete the last-minute details before the group split up, leaving her at the epicenter of an awkward silence. Liuva coughed.
So, Kao?
The amnesiac turned and stared at her.
What do you think you're gonna do after you get your memories back?
The temple keeper hesitated for a second. I don't know, he finally said. When I get them back, I think I'll know then.
Right.
The girl paused, then turned to the Urda.
Oh, what about you?
The boatkeeper turned and stared at her with a faceless expression.
You know, any hobbies?
I sail the boat.
Kima said bluntly.
That is all.
No kidding.
Liuva decided that she was going to punch Yuuki for abandoning her like this. Hard. The ride was eerily quiet, with the only sounds being the splash of the boat on the magically enchanted, fallen and you'll get destroyed lake. The lake itself seemed to stretch on for miles, like a giant black-blue mirror embedded in the earth. Liuva's reflection stared back at her. "You'll fall in if you lean forward too much," Yuuki announced, having abandoned his attempt at conversing with Kao. The girl gave a listless stare back at him. Yuuki shrugged. "Just saying," he said, as he sat down and leaned against the folded paper that made up the boat. Liuva turned back to her reflection. "So, spill," Yuuki said. "You, angsty. Why?" The girl turned back to stare at him in abject horror.
That's a bit rude to be straightforward. Can't you use a little more tact?
"You're telling me to use tact?"
Yuuki scoffed.
Yeah, okay, miss. I don't know what that thing is, so I'm just going to punch it. How about no?
Liuva huffed.
Well, it was worth a shot, I guess.
It really wasn't. Now spill.
She sighed.
I was angry at Tyr because I hate having to rely on others' powers. I hate being unable to do anything myself. It reminds me of something.
Yuuki looked surprised.
I was expecting some sort of lie, honestly.
I'm resistance. Lying is part of a job description.
Liuva shrugged.
The truth is, a good way to mix things up every once in a while.
You're not going to, by any chance, tell me what that something you get reminded of is, are you?
Of course I am.
She snapped.
I'm getting there. Hold your tiny horses.
She took a deep breath.
Do you know why the Resistance joined the Alliance?
Not really, he admitted. But then again, I'm not into politics. Enlighten me.
Okay, well, first off, I wasn't always a blaster.
Liuva tapped her fingers on the side of the boat.
I was trying to become a battle mage at first because, well... wait, let me start over. I was playing hide and seek with my friends.
Truly a cunning way to master the art of infiltration.
Hey, we're spilling their heart out here. I was playing hide and seek, and this was before I joined the resistance, mind you. And we were in a restricted area, near the mine.
Yuuki almost made another snarky comment, but quickly shut his mouth as her tone grew serious.
I was it, and everyone else was hiding. I went looking for them, found all of them except for one other kid. So I was looking, and I stumbled into this cave. Only it wasn't a cave. It was one of Black Wings. And I wandered in, and I turned and saw her.
Yuuki frowned. It was well known that the Black Wings had set up their laboratories in the Vern mine.
You got caught?
Liuva shook her head.
She wasn't a Black Wing, she was one of their experiments.
Yuki's stomach did a flip, and evidently he made a face that Liuva could see.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Everyone thinks so, I know. Anyway, she said her name was Vera, and she warned me the Black Wings were coming, about how they would find me if I didn't leave. She said I should just leave her. Leave and escape.
You didn't, Yuuki pointed out.
Of course I didn't.
She snapped.
That's obvious. Who wouldn't do something like that? I told her that, and then I just picked up a rock and smash! No more giant test tube.
Yuuki nodded in understanding.
Well, you know, that got us in trouble, duh. But we were rescued by one of the resistance members, Jay. He took me back to town and took Vera to the hideout, though I didn't know it at the time. And literally, the next day I got scouted and pulled into the resistance.
So, you saw her again? Liuva nodded.
Yeah, me and her, both of us wanted to help the resistance. Cat saved me, and I ain't as smart as Jackie. And the Aran cannons hadn't been invented yet, so I tried to train as a battle mage. And Vera, well, she decided to share information on a super stimulant she saw the Black Wings making. I mean, I sucked at magic completely, so I helped out and gathered some of the ingredients she needed and stuff. And later, I delivered the stuff to Jay for distribution.
She frowned.
Anyway, turns out it was poison.
Yuuki sat bolt upright.
Wait, what?
The stimulant. It turned out to be poison. At least, that's what Jay said the analysis turned up. That's when things started going wrong.
Wrong?
Vita, they suspected her of being a Black Wing spy. Locked her in a jail for a while. I stood by her side, of course. I understood where Claudine was coming from. And Vita was just so sad. And a few days later, she disappeared.
Disappeared?
I managed to track her down to the mine, near where we first met. She was just standing there. It wasn't right. And she said stuff like, the enemies of the Black Wings must be destroyed, and she fought us. She fought me. On Gelaimor's orders.
Yuuki shifted so he was sitting cross-legged.
Gelaimor told me that she was just a puppet. He had taken control of her mind like a toy. He sent her back to his laboratory, and I followed shortly after. Gelaimor,
She took a deep breath.
He locked her in a cage and rigged it to explode.
Yuki's eyes narrowed.
Vera told me she had a return to town scroll. I told her to use it. I begged her to use it, but she used it on me instead.
Liuva's voice audibly cracked slightly.
When I came back, the only thing left was rubble. All because I wasn't strong enough to save her.
The blaster turned to the warrior.
Claudine decided that after Vita, enough was enough, and that the resistance wasn't going to sit around and let people die like she did. We accepted the invitation to the Alliance, Jackie came up with the arm cannons, and here we are.
The two sat in silence for a bit. Well, Yuuki finally said, I feel about 10 times better for killing that balding waste of breath, that's for sure.
And for that, I thank you. Really.
Liuva snorted, although it came out more like a sniffle.
But you see why I don't like the idea of being weak. Of not being able to save others on your own.
Yuuki sighed. Look, a lot of people have lost their friends before.
We weren't friends.
That's ridiculous. Everything you said is basically the definition of...
Liuva pushed herself upright and stood over the warrior.
Not friends.
She shouted.
Connect the dots, moron.
Yuuki stared at the girl's face. She was visibly upset, and her eyes were red with tears. The gears finally clicked. He stood up to be on level ground with her. You liked her, he said.
10 goddamn points to you, Captain Obvious.
Liuva wiped at her face with her sleeve.
And then your stupid girlfriend, or a double, or an original, whatever the hell it is, went and made things worse. Hey, remember that traumatic incident where the person you liked died? Did you care more about her, or your mission to free the town you live in? Okay, thanks, bye!
There was never a wrong answer, you know.
Of course there was a wrong answer. There was a wrong answer for me.
She shouted.
You had it easy. You're friends of the word. I overheard you. Obviously, you say you're friends. That's stupidly obvious. It was a stupid trick question designed to make me feel guilty about answering.
What did you choose?
Liuva paused.
Vida, I chose...
You chose the right answer.
Yuuki interrupted.
Second-guessing yourself is what's making you feel guilty, not what you chose itself. I get it, you wish things had turned out differently, but they didn't. I can't pretend to know Vida, but do you really think that she wanted you to escape just so you could pick stupid fights with your teammates and feel sorry for yourself?
That's so stupidly cliché.
It's also true, and you know it.
The two sat in silence for a moment.
Do you feel better having told someone about it?
Yuuki asked.
That's so stupidly cliché.
Liuva answered.
But yes.
And are you going to apologize to Tyr for real this time?
Duh.
And are you going to stop acting like an angsty teen, or is Aran going to have to throw you back out the door?
Liuva gave an exaggerated sigh.
Yes, Mr. Leader, sir. No more angst, Mr. Leader, sir.
Then, issue resolved. That wasn't so hard, was it?
Yuuki put his hands behind his back.
And the next time someone needs a counselor on this mission, I'm making Aran do it.
Liuva giggled, and the two watched the waves created as the boat drifted along its course.
Liuva,
Yeah,
I have a question.
go for it.
Where do you store your gauntlets when you're not using them?